Good evening. This is Susan D'Antoni, the CEO of Montgomery County Medical Society. We want to welcome you to Physician Renewal Week and to this session, which is entitled Stress-Free Finance for You and Your Practice with West Financial Services and Sandy Spring Bank. As I said, we really appreciate you joining us for this week. When we conceived of Physician Renewal Week, we thought about how we wanted to help physicians and their practices be the very best that they can be, especially coming out of such a very difficult time. So I encourage you to review all the other sessions that are offered on every day and in the evening, and all registration is still open for those sessions, so it's not too late to sign up. I want to remind you that we are recording this session so that your colleagues can enjoy this session and benefit from it as well. Today, we welcome Sarah McMahon and Cheryl Spell of Sandy Spring Bank and Victoria Henry and Rick Gibson of West Financial Services for this discussion of how to make your finances a source of stress relief, not stress, through effective planning and goal setting. So now I'll turn it over to West Financial.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. I'm going to take a few minutes to share with you tips on ways to reduce common business stressors. View it from a standpoint of a business wellness check equals reduced stress. So the more proactive we are with some of these items that are listed below and we'll discuss, will help to reduce a major stress event. So by keeping up with these items, your stress will be much less reduced. One of the items that I want to begin talking about is the business renewal registration and filings. I'm sure if I asked a poll as to how many people have checked on your existing and current business registration with the state of Maryland, I may not get many hands, because most folks, when you register your business or you open your office for the first time, all that information is sent to the state of Maryland, and very rarely is it ever corrected or updated. So making this an annual checklist of items to do and to review will help reduce the number of hiccups moving forward. So attached there is a link to the SStat, the State Maryland business website, where you can check the business name. So by going to this, first you enter in your business name, and it'll pull up your business and any other businesses that may have similar spelling. When you go to your business, make sure you open up your file. Review the business name. By doing this, you want to make sure that the correct spelling has been registered with the state of Maryland, and also punctuation. Secondly, you want to check the principal office. So many times your address may change, or maybe the address that's filed with the state of Maryland associates to your resident agent. And perhaps your resident agent is no longer somebody you're affiliated with. Maybe it was a former attorney or a third party that you used or relied upon to help you register your business. The reason why those two things are very important, both your principal office and your resident agent, is when the state needs to mail you an update or notification that maybe your personal property filing hasn't been filed that year, they're going to mail it to that principal office and or contact your resident agent. So you want to make sure that those two pieces are pertinent to your daily wellness for your business. Secondly, your personal property filing. So you'll see a tab on that page where you can go to, and it states your good standing. In the state of Maryland, you have to file your personal property tax annually. And if that's not done by a certain period of time, your business could potentially go into not good standing. And or if that delay takes longer, perhaps a year or two, and it's not addressed, or your personal property tax is not filed, your business entity could essentially be forfeited within the state of Maryland. Now, it's always good if you do forget or your advisors forget to file, there is a way that you can go back in and pay a penalty or a fee to have that reinstated. But again, those later parts always add more stress rather than having it, addressing it early on. Lastly, with the state renewal, is to review your articles of organization. Make sure that those are up to date. Your articles of organization, most likely, again, were filed when you first started your business and opened your office. Maybe you've added partners, or maybe there's a different aspect of your business. So making sure that all of those items are up to date. So taking it to the next step, so outside of the state of Maryland, what are some things to keep an eye on to reduce your stress in the long run? If you have a Dun & Bradstreet report, which is your business credit report, checking that annually to make sure that all the information on there is correct, or if you need to dispute or address an item. Your NAICS code. Your NAICS code is up in the upper right-hand side of your tax returns. What that does is identify the type of industry you're in. And you want to make sure that that does list specifically the type of practice that you have. So there's going to be a common 2 numbers, and then the other 4 numbers will be associated with your specialty or the type of medicine that you practice. This is really important. I've been talking about this more recently, is the annual meeting of minutes of the shareholders recorded, even if you're the only single-owned entity. And why do you need to do that? Especially if you're a single-owned entity. If there's ever an issue that may arise in the future, you want to make sure that you have an annual documentation that you reviewed and or had a meeting, even if it's with yourself or somebody as a secretary, that it's recorded in a notebook. There's many reasons why that is very important, but it will reduce the amount of issues that could arise later on. So when you're looking at that or discussing your annual meeting of minutes, you want to make sure that you are recognizing any changes to board of directors within your business entity. Also, recognizing if there's any changes to your business entity type. Perhaps if you're filed as an LLC within the last year, did you choose an S Corp election or something else? So those are the type of things that you can record and have documented part of your annual meeting of minutes. Have you changed your LLC's management format? Have you changed from a member management to a manager managed format? Those are things you want to record, and just even if it's a handwritten minutes and sign date, and keep them in a 3-ring notebook. Also, your business operating agreement. This is the heart and soul of your business. This delegates who has the authority to do what within your business, who has the authority to take withdrawals or to make deposits or to make decisions on the business. The business operating agreement, even if you are a single-owned entity, is very important to have, because as that moves forward, or let's say if things change in your business, that is a skeleton of how your business is run and how different decisions are and will be made within the entity. Contracts and leases. So perhaps you rent your office. You want to keep an updated lease on file to have that language and or know when your renewal comes up. Perhaps you want to look to change locations, but your lease states that it's an automatic renewal. By having that date and be recognizing that date, you're less likely to be put in a position where you're committed to another 5 years if that's something you're not looking to do. Also, if you own the real estate entity, it is for recording purposes. You also want to have a lease between the operating business and your real estate holding company. And the language in there could state that the lease revolves and renews every so many years automatically without notification. But again, that's very important to keep in your notebook and your wellness check for your business, because you have a commitment to your real estate holding company, and it shows that that connection between the two, if anything were to come up as surprises in the future. Now, I'd be remiss to not address ways to reduce stress with your banking related to your business. So do you have a relationship manager at your bank or someone at your bank who knows you and your business? And why is that important? I think we all experienced about a year ago the urgency to be able to reach your banker and or somebody that knows your business when it was related to the PPP. It's imperative that somebody at your bank knows you and knows your business. Is your contact information up to date and current? Will your bank be able to reach you by phone or email? Is that information up to date? Also, account review. Are the account types pertinent to your transaction fees? Perhaps you might need to change the type of account you have if you're experiencing unnecessary fees. Are the signers up to date and current with your bank? So making sure that you have updated signature cards. Online banking access. Review the delegated authority to whom you have assigned as users within your business. And it's highly recommended that you assign specific delegation for the individuals within your organization that will be logging into your banking. And as we talk a little bit later about fraud protection, that way, if anything ever were to happen, that individual has their own login, and it'll be determined as to who is logging in and who has access for any incidences that may occur. Do the individuals who have access to your accounts have their own login? And then lastly, fraud protection. Review your fraud products such as positive pay. It's extremely stressful on businesses, and we deal with this every day when an event of fraud does happen, and the actions that need to take place to mitigate that. So organization's key. As we all know, as part of our lives, the more we're organized, the more we can keep ourselves, reduce the stress for ourselves. So what I recommend is keeping a binder easily accessible to you and to key people in your organization. And in that binder, you want to include your articles of organization, your operating agreement, your original tax ID verification from the federal government, and any current leases, and also your tax filings. So hopefully these ways are just tips to reduce your overall stress within your business.
Thanks, Sarah. That was very helpful. Today, I'd like to just go over some 2021 financial considerations. And these are just some things to keep top of mind for this year. And I think you'll find that if you actually take the time to implement some of these strategies, or just sit down and give them some thought, it'll help you reduce your stress and give you peace of mind. It's an excellent time to consider refinancing your mortgage or consolidating student debt. Rates are at historic lows right now. I would keep in mind, it's also another good time to take out what we call a home equity line of credit. You may have heard it called a HELOC before. Think of that as pretty much leveraging the equity in your home to open up a revolving line of credit, which can come in handy, emergency situations. A lot of people in 2020 had their income negatively impacted due to the coronavirus. A silver lining of that is you can try to take advantage of being in a lower tax bracket and implement what we call a Roth conversion. Think of a Roth conversion as when you take part of your existing traditional IRA or the entire thing and move it into a Roth IRA account. This allows you to take the tax hit now while in the lower bracket. And then you can continue to let the account grow tax-free. And then when you retire, you can take out the money without paying more taxes. Another perk of a Roth is there are no required minimum distributions. I know in speaking with the state attorneys in my network, they've been busier than ever the last year and a half. People have been stuck at home. I think they're finally starting to get around to what's on their to-do list. And the COVID pandemic has made people think about their own mortality more. What's going to happen if I'm not there tomorrow for my family? It's really important to have those documents in order. It can give you peace of mind when you go to bed at night, know that your family is going to be okay, if you're not there the next day. I would encourage you all to assess your current situation, sit down and give some thought to what's on your to-do list. Next slide here is a retirement timeline slide. So think of this as structuring what it's going to look like when you start saving your 20s all the way into your retirement. Try to get in the habit of saving early and often for retirement. Always take advantage of any type of employer match. This is essentially free money. And in your 20s and 30s, you can afford to take a bit more risk. But as you age, your portfolio should become a bit more conservative over time. The smaller time horizon, the more conservative it'll be. Try not to kick the can down the road when it comes to saving for retirement. you're going to find as you age, things only become more complicated over time. Things like saving for your kids' education or purchasing a house. These are some of the big ticket things we see often derail saving strategies. And if you feel overwhelmed by the idea of retirement or any material we go over today, please reach out to us. I think one of the things that makes West a bit different than other places is that we offer financial planning as a standalone service, meaning we can charge you a few hours for financial planning and give you a roadmap that's going to help lead you to successful retirement. I was speaking to a client, I guess a few months back, and they're in their mid-50s, well-paying job, on paper should be pretty successful. And they're finally giving some thought to, when am I going to start, taking a bit of time off? When am I going to start easing into retirement? The fact of the matter is this person really never utilized their employer match and had never really saved for retirement. That makes for a really difficult conversation with someone because at that point, there's not a lot of time left. I encourage you not to let that happen to you. Please be proactive and try to save for retirement as soon as you can. Next slide. When you're looking at your investment goals, try to understand the distinction between short and long term. Short term is going to be anything, say, between now and 5 years, and long term is going to be past that 5-year mark. As a rule of thumb, try to save at least 15% of your income into retirement accounts. You'll find the quicker you can get up to that 15%, the better off you're going to be long term. 2020 shows more than ever the need to have what we call an emergency fund. Emergency fund is simply 3 to 6 months of living expenses in a liquid account. Think of holding it as a money market. And that goes for individuals and businesses as well. If you can plan ahead to put operating funds aside, you're going to be in much better shape to weather the type of economic challenges we saw last year. And as I mentioned earlier, you can afford to be a lot riskier when you're younger, but be aware of your time horizon. If you're a couple of years out from retirement, probably don't want a totally aggressive portfolio. But at the same time, be honest with yourself when it comes to your risk tolerance. It's really easy to ride the ups of the market when we're at all-time highs, but how does it make you feel when we have a drawback like we did last March? It's not a black and white decision. Next, Victoria's going to go a bit in detail about just why it's better to save sooner rather than later for retirement.
Thanks, Rick. And thank you everybody for joining us today. You might recognize me and Rick. We've been coming to some of the collegiality events and the expos for the last couple of years. I did just want to mention that we, West Financial Services, have been a sponsor of MCMS for going on 10 years now. And we are a wholly owned subsidiary of Sandy Spring Bank, which is why we're so excited that Sarah and Cheryl were able to join us today to talk to you a little bit about your business perspective, how we might be able to help not just you personally, but also your practice. Did want to mention that if anybody has a question from the business perspective for Cheryl or Sarah, or for Rick and me from your personal financial perspective, that there is a chat room. You could send a question and I'd be happy to read it off for my teammates. And then of course, in a second, I'm going to put up Rick's contact information and Sarah's contact information if you have a follow-up question afterward. But just wanted to mention quickly why it matters to try to make any little changes to help improve your position for both your business and for personal finances. So this is just one example that we're showing up right now about the impact of small changes on the comfort level of your retirement. So in this scenario, we have someone who starts saving for retirement at age 25 when they enter into their career with starting salary of $40,000, assumed growth rate of your salary of 3%, and an annual contribution rate toward retirement of 10%. Rick mentioned that 15% is a really good goal. And 10% is something that hopefully, if you do the math, you really need to save at least 10% every year in order to just be able to retire. So something to work toward. We assume that this person retires at age 65. And we have 3 return scenarios here. The baseline is that during the working years, this person gets 5.5% for a return on their retirement investments. The dark blue is that they get 0.5 percentage better in returns, 6% return every year. And the turquoise is that they get a whole percent better than baseline, 6.5% each year. And so what we're really trying to show here is that with the baseline 5.5% return and the above mentioned assumptions, that person's retirement assets last until they're about 84 years old. And, you know, a lot of people live past 84, so that's a little too close for comfort as far as we're concerned. So looking at the just a little bit better scenario at a 6% return, you get, you know, a few more years almost to age 90. And, you know, that's would provide me a lot more comfort since that's getting you just a few more years of comfortable retirement distributions. And then if you get a whole percent better, 6.5% average return from age 25 to age 65 while you're working, you're getting up into your high 90s for how long your retirement assets last. And that's statistically longer than most of us are going to last. So that would probably give me a lot of comfort to have 13 additional years worth of a comfortable retirement. So, you know, that's why if you have any questions to either talk to us about your business or to talk to me and Rick about your personal financial situation, we'd be happy to have a private conversation at your convenience. You can reach out to Sarah on the business side so she can coordinate with Cheryl, and you can reach out to Rick on the personal financial side if you'd like to talk about your investments or your retirement outlook. So that's it. I don't think we have any questions coming through the chat right now.
Thank you very much for those excellent presentations. We knew that these were going to be brief, and our speakers, all of the people with Sandy Spring and with West Financial, are very happy to have conversations with you offline and about any of those topics. So is there anybody that would like to just unmute yourself and ask a question? All right. Well, we want to thank our speakers. We thank West Financial for being a long-term partner with the Medical Society. They are certainly available to us and available to you. And then, matter of fact, the Medical Society has just opened new checking accounts and with Sandy Spring Bank. Candidly, we got very tired of being a number at another international bank. And so we're very pleased to be a new client of theirs. And despite some technical difficulties of setting passwords, which of course everybody is bothered by and it's difficult, and but we got through that, and now we're moving on to the relationship part of that marriage. So any other questions? Anybody have one? Well, again, we thank our speakers. We thank West Financial and Sandy Spring. We also welcome your feedback. There is another session starting at 6 p.m. and it is by Unity Insurance, another corporate partner of the Medical Society. And so we hope that you will attend that session as well. So thank you very, very much for being with us this evening. We also, of course, have our 6:30 general membership meeting, and we will have the installation of officers at 6:30. And then we will have Dr. Michael Myers, who is doing a CME program for us on physician well-being. Certainly he is a well-known speaker, and he has dedicated his professional career to caring for physicians with therapy and other guidance and counsel to make sure that physicians could be the best that they can be. So we're looking forward to hearing him. So thank you very, very much. We look forward to seeing you again and hope that you'll stick with us this evening. Thank you.